My great-grandfather was a member of the Nazi SS. Was he objectively evil based on his position alone? Probably. The SS were an expressly political group. They were created by the Nazi Party as they needed a military wing before the Nazis would take power. People didn't join the SS unless you were already deep in the rabbit hole, and they certainly didn't rise through the ranks without serving the party. Obviously, I don't know your great-granddad, but if you asked me what group was most likely to be down with both the Holocaust and the authoritarianism of the Nazi Party, it would be the Waffen-SS, and they certainly don't promote for nothing. I suggest you watch a film called The Reader, released in 2008. It's too nuanced for some folks and the critics are all over the place about it, but it is one take on the questions you are asking about your great-grandfather. Considering your history on Reddit, I'd say you kept it in the family, but Nazi SS, yes. The average German military, conscripts and such, were the Wehrmacht. Those guys could be evil or just trying to survive. But to be SS means you are expressly and irrefutably a willing active Nazi believer. The Schutzstaffel Protection Squadron was formed in the 1920s as political security for early Nazi meetings. That's not conscripts. That's Nazis. There is no such thing as an innocent SS, though some may try to contextualize certain SS groups in present day to absolve them of their crimes. Edit, actually, you're a nut job running around sympathizing with Nazis and trying to somehow reform the image of the SS. You also boast about having moved to a country with a literal slavery problem because Canada was too libtard for you. You should stop looking for comments that help your view on your GGF's Nazi career. Nothing about being in the SS makes him a good person, especially not in the rank he was in. He was most certainly a morally questionable guy, if not straight up evil. Yep. As a fellow someone with great-grandparents in Nazi armed forces, it's not just the Waffen-SS, although that is the most objectively evil, but chances are very high that even a draftee in the Wehrmacht was compliant or actively committing war crimes. People tend to forget that the Holocaust is not only concentration camps. A large part is also the open-air internment of POWs, especially in Russia. POWs were routinely rounded up in improvised field camps, and then either executed or left to freeze. Another large part is also the Nazi police forces. A lot of members of the police were either used as occupation officials or basically a clean-up crew after the front lines, searching captured areas for civilians or POWs and executing them. Every person that was part of Nazi offenses, especially on the Eastern Front, is at the very least compliant with war crimes and crimes against humanity. There's an amazing 3 arrows video, u2.bfumde_xwv4si=tuf3t5 on the topic that goes into detail on that, and that massively changed how I viewed my family history. I think having a skull and crossbone in your cap badge might be the giveaway. Sorry, but yes. The SS were the worst and scariest of the Nazis, and your GGF was a high-ranking officer of them. Peer pressure is one hell of a thing. Your whole country, leader, spew the same hatred, but you don't see it as that. When so many around you start believing something, you kinda tag in until you're invested. Was he evil in the beginning? Maybe he wasn't. But the environment around him groomed him to do evil things, and the outcomes were that he got promoted and likely given medals and accolades for it. Acceptance among the people of his country. In the end, many had the wherewithal to know what was happening was evil and fight back against the movement. Your grandfather did not. So I'd say, as a LT colonel in the SS, he in the end most certainly committed evil acts and was responsible for the death of many innocent people. And sometimes, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Looks like you got some work to do on yourself, dude. Piece of shit by default. You can write an email to the Bundesarchiv in Berlin. You can find the mail on their website. Say yeah, I'd like to request all Nazi documents they have about your great-grandfather. Fill out the form, and wait what they send you. Yeah. Americans tend to coddle fascists and other evil people and are quick to claim that they simply just got caught up in something or were just fighting for their homeland. But I've always fallen back on what my German friend thought about all this. Her grandfather was a Nazi, and when she revealed this to me, I tried to be diplomatic and not say anything negative so as not to offend. But she explained to me that he was an evil man like every other Nazi, and that she was glad he died. As long as you're honest with yourself and denounce his views, you're good. A ton of people have awful, evil relatives. Yep, my money is on him having been a true monster. SS troops were especially rotten and vile. They were the true believers of Hitler's ideology. Now if your great-grandpa was simply in the German army, they wouldn't have necessarily agreed with Nazi ideology and were simply serving their country gray area. Towards the end of the war, SS troops weren't even given quarter in battle. All it takes for evil to thrive is for good men to do nothing. Your grandfather didn't just do nothing, he was actively involved in the evil. So yes, he was objectively evil. Yes, you don't just accidentally become an SS, let alone a high-ranking officer. You should read the book Ordinary Men. It goes into excruciating detail about a lot of the psychological horrors and atrocities of the SS. It also goes into the overall mood and thought processes of the SS, and how they thought about the executions, etc. There are many mentions about how they handled people that refused to execute. I don't believe in evil, but everyone in the SS did some horrible stuff. That doesn't mean he wasn't a good family man or neighbor. He may have petted stray dogs or given to charity. People are complex. But he was also complicit in an oppressive and authoritarian organization that tortured and killed a bunch of innocent people. Yeah, sorry. Not much nuance when it comes to actual Nazis. Mine was not a member. But he was a supporter, and he disowned his son for marrying a Jewish woman, so the rest of the family disowned him and he died miserable and alone. No one wanted to pay for his funeral, so he didn't get one. He was cremated, and his ashes were unceremoniously dumped into the ocean, and the world is a better place without him in it. Yes, he was a bad person, evil even. You have to consider what has been described as banality of evil. Hundreds of thousands of Nazi were involved in genocide during WW2, bearing a handful, most led what we would consider to be perfectly normal life outside of their work. There was no movie-level supervillainary involved. There would have been fathers and grandfathers who would appear as perfectly normal adults, loving their family, helping their neighbors. These same people would also have personally killed or been involved in killing civilians intentionally. Yes, it is possible that as well as being an active part of a great evil, an evil himself, he was kind to pets and a good father and grandfather and thoughtful, in large ways and small, and also, at very best, in the most generous possible version of things. He thought it was acceptable to kill Jews because they didn't count as people, according to the state. Yes, he was objectively an evil man. I would think had committed and/or witnessed did numerous war crimes on his journey to earn that rank in the SS. Just curious, did your grandparents and/or parents ever talk much about the type of person your GGF was? What were their memories of him? And what were your grandparents and parents on his side personalities and behaviors like? Netflix had an interesting documentary on a similar subject called Ordinary Men. It followed a group of German policemen in WW2 who were assigned to one of the death squads who murdered Jews in Eastern Europe. The premise is trying to figure out why regular guys would follow such obviously evil orders and how they became monsters. Or were they monsters? Watch the documentary and find out. Yes, good people don't exactly join the SS. At best he's the low-grade background kind of evil that landlords and most cops fall into. Yes,